It's been a while since I've put any commentary out there, but I do want to talk about that video of the one New Age person versus the 20 Christians. And I know that there is a lot of commentary out there, but I've been waiting to see if someone would discuss one of the biggest parts of that show that nobody really is talking about. I do want to commend Jasmine for just her demeanor. I have two major things that I do want to say about that, maybe three. Her demeanor with those women is how black people in America and in this world have to respond on a daily basis. Um, the more I looked at that video, the more, I was just in awe of her being able to sit in that, because they were coming, they were throwing daggers at her left and right, and she was able to sit in that calmly and in her peace. And there are, for me, even as a black person, or an indigenous person, an American Indian person, the world sees me as a black American. And when we are out here in the stores, in at work, black people in America, from America, y'all know how we have to be, because we know that if we do anything, it's going to escalate a situation that really doesn't need to be escalated. And so, me seeing how she was acting with those women, and it was just her, I couldn't help but to continue to think that, wow, this is how black people have to perform in society every day. Every day. That was one thing. The second thing I want to say, and this is a very hard conversation. I haven't heard anybody comment on it yet. But this is something that I have been working on myself with for about maybe a year and a half or 2 years now. I used to be a Christian. I grew up Seventh-day Holiness. So holiness, we weren't even supposed to celebrate Christmas back then. Like, we weren't allowed to celebrate Christmas. Halloween, still don't celebrate. We weren't allowed to celebrate Easter. We celebrated Passover, for Easter. That's why, you see like the was it Charlton Heston with the 10 Commandments. And like, me and my sisters, like, we said, will it pass, Moses? Like, I can we looked at that movie every year growing up. But that was a part of our Passover ritual. But what I want to say, what Jasmine said to them, and I don't know if it went over everybody's head, or they just, like, you could tell there were times where she would say stuff and they just wanted to hurry up and get away from that. They wanted to hurry up and get away from that commentary. They wanted to hurry up and stop her because she was flowing with truth. One example of that is when she was talking about the tarot cards, and they were saying you're supposed to use scripture for it, and she said, just as you use scripture for inspiration or validation, I use tarot cards. And she began to explain the devil tarot card. And so usually you see the devil, you're like, oh, we're supposed to be afraid of that thing. But what she was saying was the devil tarot card has a meaning, and that meaning is the devil that is within inside of you. How is your mind causing you harm? How are the thoughts that you are having right now causing you harm? So she was breaking it down, and that one lady was like, I need to, she needed to stop that information, that truth, from coming out. So that's why they stopped her a lot of the times. But the one thing that I haven't seen anybody comment on is when she said that Christianity is one of the biggest cults in the world. I will say it again. Christianity is one of the biggest cults in the world. It is a cult. And everything that we learned about cults, I remember, looking on Netflix about, or even I remember when that cult in Texas, Waco, Texas happened. And I remember being a kid like, oh my God, they're in a cult. And I think that was kind of like a mental training, because your pastor isn't telling you to drink this stuff so that you can die right now. But what a lot of pastors, and let me preference this by saying that I do have a Master of Divinity degree. I did go to a seminary. I did go to seminary. I graduated. I have my Master of Divinity degree. I took the History of Christianity class. And I took that class, I think my last year of seminary. And that was the year that my heart began to change around Christianity. And because of fear and a lot of other stuff, it took me years to leave the church. It took me 17 years after that. But I had been kind of inching my way out until finally the Most High, the Creator, was like, okay, it's time for you to snip it, But when you take the history of Christianity, and I took that class, I realized, oh my God, this whole thing is a sham. It's a sham. And you have to take the history and see why Christianity is so prevalent. But this is what I want to say. And these are things that I have had. These are conversations that I have had to have with myself. Because even though I left the church a while ago, it still took me years to realize. And I wrote this down because I really need people, whoever is listening, to understand, okay? And this is very scary place to be, but you have to understand that, one, you are in a cult. We were born in this cult. And one thing that I always struggled with was, how could I not know? How could I not know? One, because I was looking at what they wanted me to think of as a cult, which is drinking some punch and dying. That's a cult too. But us focusing on those types of cults, it keeps our eyes off of the cult that you are currently in right now. And that's a lot of religions. I'm not just talking about Christianity. I'm talking about the Muslim religion. And I know, like, this gonna ruffle some feather, whoever listening, I don't have a lot of people listening, but Islam is a cult. Catholicism, Judaism, it's all a cult. Anything that limits you, it is a cult. And it's hard because I ask myself, and I'm just beginning. Well, no, because I still ask myself, how could I have fallen? I was born in it. I was raised in it from when I'm a child. That's why they say, teach it to your children. Because even in the Bible, it says, raise your child in the way that they should go. And when they are older, they will not depart from it. They know what they're doing when they tell you to raise your child within this cult, because it's going to be really hard for your child to get out of this cult. I have family members that have been out of the church for a long time and just went right back in recently, and I'm like, oh God. But I think they went back in because of what's happening in the world right now. And so that fear of, oh my God, the world, this, they talked about this in the, a lot of the Bible is a blueprint. And I just honestly believe that of my years of studying, and even studying after I have achieved my master's of divinity degree. I'm beginning to realize I'm reading over again, the scriptures that I'm rereading, such as, and I think I've touched on this once before, that even Deuteronomy 28, it's not a curse, it's a blueprint. Because if you look at Deuteronomy 28, that was a blueprint for what they were going to do to us. It's an instruction. This is what you do to them. You take all their cattle. You make them grow all the food and not enjoy any of it. You make them build houses that they will not live in. You make them work the fields and not benefit from it. That's a blueprint. I believe that Revelation is a blueprint. If you think about it, none of the stuff in Revelation has been happening in a natural way. It's not something that has just been taken, oh, this is happening. Because one thing that I notice, and I am very empathic, I have been walking with God. I have had a personal relationship with God, and I believe that that's why God was able to kind of pull me out. But I have had a personal relationship with God since I was about 6 years old, And so what was I saying? A lot of so what God tells me, whenever God tells me something that's going to happen, it doesn't happen because I made it happen. Oh, I know this is going to happen, so I'm going to make it happen. You see, but when I look at when people say, oh, all of this stuff is in the book of Revelation. Yeah, it is in the book of Revelation, but these governments are also the ones making it happen. They read the same books that you read. You see? And so it's hard. Another thing that is hard, and this is an extra nugget, it's hard to understand that there have been sects of cults that have been working on this for hundreds of years. This isn't just something that has started in our lifetime. Just like Christianity, when they tell you, you teach your kids this, and then your kids grow up and they teach their kids this, and your whole family has been in the church for millennia. These other sects that want to take over the world in a very, very horrible way, which is what they're doing now, they have been learning since they were children. So these are things that they have been planning for hundreds of years, and they don't care when they achieve it as long as they achieve it. And it goes based on how they're able to sway society. So it's important for us to understand, and I have to tell myself this all the time, because I keep going back to how I think to myself. I'm an extremely intelligent person. How did I get caught up into this? And the Spirit of God keeps saying, you were raised in it. You had no choice of what you were learning because you were raised in it. And so, yes, you were raised in a cult. And I'm sorry about that. And I'm talking to myself. You have been lied to your whole lives. Think about us American Indians, been taught, oh, you Negro. And then they changed us from Indians. And it's in the history books that they're currently erasing. It's in the history books. It's in the museums. There's a museum, I think in the UK, I heard somebody say, where you have to have a certain level of class and money to get into these museums. And in the bottom of that museum are proof that we are the American Indians. So you've been lied to your whole lives. So if we have been lied to about being black, we've been lied to about being African, because they changed out. They keep changing. There's levels, and we're in the process of peeling away those levels. But they have changed our identity to confuse us our whole lives. Only for us to find now, and we start going and doing the digging, and the Spirit is beginning to kind of move through us, and we're like, wait a minute, Grandma was right. We are the Indians. This is our land. This was our home. And so Think of that and how they were successful in convincing many of us, because I myself was convinced, like, I'm from Africa, until I started doing some digging. And then I met my father, and the first thing my father told me was, y'all, you know we're not African, right? You know we are Indian. And told me exactly where our family originated from. And so if they can lie about our race and where we're from, trying to get us to move back to Africa so they can get this land, this is the Garden of Eden. This is the beginning of civilization. This is where the Americas is where the largest and the oldest pyramids and mounds have ever existed by 5,000 years. So if our mounds are larger and older, and our pyramids in the Americas are larger and older than the pyramids in Egypt, then Egypt is not the cradle of civilization. We are. That's why everything that we do, every dance we do, every style we have, everything we do, it is taken by the world, because we are the cradle of civilization. We are the word. We are the word. Okay? So, we have been lied to our whole lives. And that's hard, but you have to accept it if you want to be free. If you want to be free and you want your sovereignty and you want to see a different world, damn it, I want to see a different world than having to live in a world where I know that in America, hundreds of thousands of people go missing and nobody cares. Nobody cares, especially us melanin. I don't want to live in a world where you see every week you see somebody else hanging from a goddamn tree. And we're supposed to, we're just going to let God handle it. We are God in here. We are the image. Let us build let us build in our image. In our image. God is within and without and in all things. God is in this damn head thing that I'm wearing. God is in the phone. God is this. God is living in through us. Through us. It's through us that God does the most work. That's why in the Bible, the Christ said that you will do even greater things than what I have done. Now I have theories about that Christ, so I'm doing some studying, some research. But listen, the word, you will do even better. You will do even greater things. So we've been lied to our whole lives, and it's time to understand that. It's time to accept that we have been lied to our whole lives. This is hard to accept. That's the third thing on my list. It's hard to accept, but you have to. You got to go through it. And trust me, you can go through it. I thought that if I have these thoughts, it's going to drive me crazy to think. It's going to drive me up a wall. I'm going to go crazy if I have to sit here and accept the thought that I have been lied to my whole life. And I'm not crazy. I'm more sane than I have ever been. I'm more stable than I've ever been in my life. I have been more at peace than I've ever been in my life. I have more joy than I've ever had in my life. I'm more free than I've ever been in my life because I let that Christianity go. But we must, if we are going to free this world and each other from the hell that it is in. You know, the one thing that upset me the most, and I noticed that it upset a lot of people, was that woman in the orange shirt that asked her, are you going to manifest your way out of hell? Lady, look around. You praying to the wrong thing has manifested this world into hell. I had a patient that said, I don't want to go to hell. And I said, look at the world. Are you not already in it? Is this not already hell? Where we have literal pedophiles, known pedophiles running the government, and nobody's doing anything about it. You know, that Taylor Swift wedding happened a couple of weeks ago, and they tried to make it the biggest thing ever. Oh, look. Oh, what was it in Madison Square Garden, and all these celebrities came to her wedding, and all of them have decided to be the distraction from children being snatched, eaten, and violated in sexual manners. That's all this is. It's a distraction. They are all distractions. Who cares about Taylor Swift marrying some guy who can't stand her? That man is miserable, allegedly. That's just a theory I have, but that man is miserable. But he signed a contract to marry her, and so now he has to live that life that he has agreed upon. He has agreed to be the distraction from children and people being snatched, eaten, and sexually abused in the most heinous ways. So all of these celebrities have agreed to be the distraction. And we have to stop falling for that distraction. We have to free, because to be afraid that you're going to die and go to hell, what the hell is that we're living in? What are we living in right now? What are we living in right now? Especially as Black, Solon, American Indian women. They've completely changed our whole identity several times, to the point where if we don't call ourselves African, the rest of the world accosts us. When nobody else, the Jamaicans are literally Africans. Them people in the Caribbean and what is this, South America, those are the actual Africans. We've been here for the most part. Look at the logs. That stuff is free online. Look at the logs. The logs say that there were no more than about 300,000 Africans that came to North America, and all of those people did not make 50 million population of us. They did not do that. We were already here. All of those buildings, those Capitol buildings, and all the best buildings in this country were already here when they got here, and they changed it. I'm willing to bet that Buckingham Palace was ours. I know, it was ours, and they changed it, And you can tell, because now I'm kind of veering off, but you can tell because they haven't been able to build a structure like that since they took us out. Since they made us prisoners of war, they haven't been able to build anything like that. Electricity is supposed to be free. It's not. The water is supposed to be clean and free. It's not. We're supposed to be able to be as creative as we want. That's what God is. God is the creator. God is the creator. And it's called us to create. Create your own word. The word that starts in your mind. I think I have a daughter that builds like really great puppets. She builds these huge, just beautiful puppets. Those puppets were a word in her mind. And the beginning of that puppet was the word. And then she said, I'm going to make a puppet. And then she manifested this puppet into flesh, or, cardboard. But she started off with paper. But we have to have that hard conversation with ourselves, that we were raised in a cult. It's not our fault, because we were raised in it. And I wouldn't even, unless your parents knew it was a cult and was like, I'm going to benefit from it anyways, Um, they were raised in it, and then our ancestors were forced into it during slavery. Hell, there's even a book. I can't remember the name of the guy, but the guy who brought slavery to the, who brought Christianity to the Americas, didn't want to teach them Christianity because he felt like that would give them, one, it would be too freeing for them, for the enslaved, and two, that he felt like they shouldn't have to have a day off. So we were raised in the cult. We all were. It's time to come out of it. We've been lied to our whole lives, and that is a hard pill to swallow. But damn it, you gotta swallow it. If you had a lot of my patients, they get they get UTIs. A lot of old people, they get UTI, they get urinary tract infections, and they have to take antibiotics. They don't want to take it. Why? Because the antibiotics is going to cause, it may cause rash. Antibiotics tend to cause diarrhea and, all these other, but it's going to clear up that UTI. It's going to clear up that infection. So these are pills that they have to swallow in order to get better. And so the pills that you have to swallow in order for your mind, your spirit, your body, your whole being to get better is that you were in a cult. You were raised in a cult. It is not your fault. It is, we've been lied to our whole lives. It is hard to accept. And in order to free this world from the hell that it is in, because this is hell. This is hell. And they're going to make sure that they bring it to your doorstep. This is hell. In order to free the world from the hell that it's in, and in order to have the new heaven and the new earth, you have got to come out of that cult. And you have to acknowledge to yourself that I have been lied to my whole life. Now, there are ways, like all the scriptures, that 400, and I've talked about this before, that 400-year period of silence that the Catholic Church went through is when they changed a lot of those words in that Bible. And so there are some parts of the Bible that are extremely helpful to everyday life, but you have to be able to rightly divide that word. And you can't do it in the state that you're in right now, thinking that it's infallible. That was part of the cult lie. Think about those people in Waco. They thought that what that man was teaching was infallible, and they were willing to do anything to be a part of something that is infallible, something that is in fact what they thought was emphatic truth, and it was an actual lie. And so come out of the cult. And I'm sorry. I am sorry that this is what it is. But we cannot continue to pretend that we don't know the truth anymore. We can't.